All right, guys. So right now I'm going to share a story. It's a short story of the real reason why I like to travel and why I traveled so much within the last few years. It's not a happy story of why I started, but it actually created something positive from a negative. So 2012, pretty much we got laid off the end of 2011 going to 2012. I got laid off my job in California, and what happened was that we had a choice. My sister, my mom, and my nephews were moving to Oregon. My brother and I were still in Los Banos, California at the time, and we either decided to go with them and live in Oregon or move to Las Vegas. And we figured that Las Vegas would have more opportunity because we came from a big city. We came from San Jose, California. We moved to a small town for some years, and we felt like if we're going to move to Oregon, then that would kind of be putting us in the same spot that we were in Los Banos. So we decided to move to Vegas for more opportunities. And what happened was, on the way from my sister moving to Oregon, they weren't even in the house yet. They were in a hotel, and my mom got sick. She threw up, and she was acting really weird. So I remember getting a phone call from my sister, and it just kind of broke my heart right away, where we found out my mom had a brain tumor, which was cancerous. So pretty much we flew out there and trying to figure out what was going on, and the doctors pretty much told her that she had a year to live. So the time throughout the whole, within that time, she was going through, she went through a surgery. And for a moment in time, right after surgery, it was a surreal feeling. It was really like, it felt like a movie that we could not just walk out of the theater and go back to reality. It was something surreal where it was just like it didn't feel like I was really there, but it was going on. Before surgery, we were down below in the hospital where there was just cement walls, and there was cement walls, and we pretty much saw my mother for the last time before surgery. After surgery, we were in this room, and I talked to her for like a few minutes, and she opened her eyes, and she said it felt like a nightmare. She knew what was going on, she could see what was going on, but she couldn't control herself. So then after surgery, she went through chemo, and then she got really sick, and I believe that she couldn't handle chemo. So she pretty much lasted 8 months before passing away. And after she passed away, I kind of took a look at her life. When she was well, and we were all living in California, she wouldn't go anywhere. She wanted to stay at home. She wanted to sit on the couch, and she watched 2 TV shows. She watched The Bachelor, and she watched QVC. And she also watched the Christian channel. So 3 TV shows. And that's all she would do. She never wanted to leave the house. I would tell her, let's go out to eat. I'll buy it for you, because I just got paid or something. And she was like, why don't you go get it and bring it back? She never liked to go out. So pretty much that's how she was for years. And I felt like she didn't get to pretty much experience life. I don't know how she was before she had us, but the time we spent as far as like, as my mother, she didn't travel like far places. So like, for me, seeing her just spending time pretty much between 4 walls and the TV I wanted my life to be a little bit different because you don't know when you're going to go. So I started traveling. I told myself that I was going to travel the whole United States, every single state. I was going to travel it. I was going to go to every single one. I'm not trying to say it sound bad, but I didn't want to be like my mom, trapped in a room with a TV and then my life ends. I wanted to experience life as much as possible. So after she passed, I started traveling, right? Before she passed, I've only been to a few states. I was born and raised in California. I've been to Seattle, Washington, and I went to Mesa, Arizona, and Tempe, Arizona, a little area. And that's all I've ever been. Shortly after my mom passed away, my brother moved to Ireland, and I think a year passed before I went to go visit him. And I remember my brother and I walking through this park in Ireland and just thinking like how crazy the last few years have been, where we were stuck in a small town. I remember having this feeling when I was living in that small town in California, like there has to be more. I can't believe I do the same thing over and over and over. 2 years ago, who would have thought that him and I would be walking through a park in Ireland, 5,000 miles away? So like, life is unpredictable. If you're feeling down, or if you're feeling like you're stuck somewhere, whether it be a job, a relationship, or your living situation, or whatever, nothing's permanent. You're the person who has to change it. Nothing's given to you. So for me, I wanted to travel. I didn't want to be stuck living my life in those four walls and the TV. So I booked a flight, I got on the plane, and I took off. And then I started doing that over and over. I booked a flight, and it was kind of like the hardest thing I did, because like I traveled most of the states by myself. And I remember booking the first flight, not knowing what I was going to do. And I took off the first flight from Vegas, landed in a different state, spent the day there, took the last flight back home, and I was doing day trips. And I did that state after state after state after state. And then I started going towards the East Coast. And I remember taking a week off work, and I think I did like 11 or 13 states in 1 week, where I traveled to Pennsylvania, did Baltimore, Delaware. I stayed in I stayed in Atlantic City. And from Atlantic City, I shot all the way up to upstate New York, and then cruised back around. I stayed in Manhattan. And we're talking about this now. It's kind of crazy that I did that all by myself. Nobody next to me. Something would have went wrong. Pretty much nobody knew what would happen. The only person that knew I started traveling was my brother, because I would leave and come back. But pretty much the rest of my family, like my sister and my dad, they were all left in the dark. No one knew I took off and came back. I had a few things go wrong, and I thank God that I made it back. When I say I thank God, I'm not saying I'm a religious person, but I do believe in a higher power. So it's coming close to the end, where I'm not completely done with the States yet, but this is the final year. I told myself I wanted to finish the States before 40. And right now I'm 39. I turned 40 in 7 months. 2016 was probably the best travel year ever. I did 7 states. I took off to 2 parts of Canada, the East Coast and the West Coast. And then I traveled to Poland. I traveled the whole country of Poland, basically, like from one end to the other. Went to England, went back to Ireland to visit my brother. And then I went to Hawaii with my friend Mark. And it was a really good year for travel. It was a lot of fun. I felt like I was accomplishing things. it wasn't until after I moved to Vegas that I felt a little bit more free. And it wasn't until I started traveling and I started seeing like different parts of the United States that everywhere is different. You have a different feeling everywhere you go. You're not just stuck to one city, one small town, one neighborhood, you know, because I remember, you know, people I knew in Northern California when I lived in San Jose, and you know, they were stuck in their one neighborhood. And you just pretty much got to get out there. Just take that leap of faith and just do it. So for 2018, this was the goal. This is the final stretch. I have to finish this goal. I have a few states left, which I'll end up listing, and pretty much hopefully you follow me in my journey. I believe I started the YouTube channel a couple years late. I should have started this channel back a long time ago. I missed so many opportunities for good videos for you to watch. But it's here now, and hopefully you follow me on this adventure.